So the session is now recording, and as I said before, we are now in day 3 of the cybersecurity workshop, and hopefully you will enjoy this final day on Friday. So again, just a reminder of the Best Growth Hub, and to get us started. So what have we done so far? And if you remember, on Monday, we started to learn about cybersecurity and the need of cybersecurity, trying to answer the questions of, okay, what exactly are we trying to protect? Why is cybersecurity important? Is it really relevant to me? Is it really relevant to your company? And I think we all managed to agree that it is important, and we all can be affected. There were some very good examples in there of cybersecurity issues, personal issues, or for companies. So cybersecurity, even if you haven't been affected by it, the idea is that you don't make yourself a target. So we understood that during day 1. We talked a bit about who is attacking us. We didn't go into the details of the specifics of every single one of the attackers, but we did discuss their motives. We did specify some of the malware, phishing, and so on. No? But more importantly, it was a day for us to understand how cybersecurity aware you were, and also to talk about some good online practices that we were having. Okay. During the second day, we focused on the cybersecurity cube, which again is maybe not a term that is known by everybody. Perhaps it's just more relevant to Cisco, and Cisco, which is a big company that specializes in networks. They created this cybersecurity cube, or not created, but took it and used it throughout their training in terms of the topic. And I like it because, as I said to you before, it covers the most important aspects that you need to consider in order to achieve cybersecurity. And Geoff agrees with me, which is perfect. No? So we know that we have to keep, in order to achieve cybersecurity, we need to achieve confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and we cover those 3 aspects on Wednesday. We specified, very generally, how to achieve them, and we discussed how they are related to each other, and how if they are not being considered, how it can affect a company. So we use the NHS as an example, on how they were not offering the best mechanisms to protect, and that's why they were attacked, or the attack was successful. We also mentioned that although we are trying to protect data, and we're trying to protect the information that we have within our company, we need to consider not only when the data is being transmitted, but also when the data is being stored and being processed by the systems that you have within your company, by considering the 3 aspects of cybersecurity: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And then we finally moved into the countermeasures, and how exactly can we achieve confidentiality, integrity, and availability in those 3 information states, and which elements do I need to consider? And I think the biggest lesson in there that we can take from Wednesday, is that cybersecurity is not just an IT issue. Is not the responsibility of your IT department, or can be solved only by using technology. We identified the need of policies and practice, which should come from your senior management, in your case maybe from you, and we also talked about the need to educate people within the area, to keep them cybersecurity aware. And I think it's quite good to see that you are here. You took the time for these 3 days to spend some time learning more about cybersecurity. And as I said on Wednesday, maybe you now have more questions rather than answers. But the most important thing is precisely that you have those questions, and that you are hopefully ready to start getting the answers and getting yourselves secure. Okay. So Joff is commenting, at the time of the NHS attack, NatWest were still using Windows NT in their branches, and you would be very surprised on the amount of banks that nowadays are still using legacy equipment. By legacy, I mean old equipment, in the sense that, well, mainly because they were robust at some point, and transferring that into a newer system represents disruption and represents investment. So those big companies sometimes prefer just to work with what they have, making sure that it is stable at some point, and just dodge the bullet if they can. But we have learned from many different examples, not just the NHS example, that having that sort of approach to cybersecurity brings more issues rather than solutions, and it can cost us more. No. So the idea for today is to talk about your cybersecurity journey, and perhaps I am moving away a bit from what originally was indicated in the specifications of this workshop, mainly because I can see your need, and I can see that you are looking for guidance. No, yes, Erika, you have told us what cybersecurity is, and you have explained to us who is attacking us and why it's important to achieve cybersecurity. But what we really need as a business, as a small business, is to learn how can we achieve it in our company. No? So with that in mind, and listening to the comments that some of you gave me on Monday and Wednesday, my idea is to guide you and show you the things that you need to do, your cybersecurity journey, how it should be, where should it start, with the minimum that you need to do. No, because as you saw and as we talked about on Wednesday, cybersecurity is a very complex topic. No, but in your case, being a small company or having a small company, it shouldn't be so complex. No, you should have already predefined steps that should allow you to carry on. Now, as I said, I cannot go into the specifics of which particular technology you should use or which specific policy you should write. But as we agreed on Wednesday, what I'm going to show you is the different resources that are available that I have identified throughout the years that have helped companies understand how to set up certain things. You know, so hopefully that should help you as well. Okay. So again, the reminder that if you have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Open your mics. I mean, I think we only have 6 of you connected today. So it is easier, 8 of you connected, so that it is easier for 9, sorry, for us to manage the microphone. If you want to open your microphone and just ask a question, by all means. Okay. Right. So as I said before, at the end of the session, hopefully you will recognize the elements that you need to achieve security within your organization. All these 3, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and also to protect against those elements that we have seen are the most common ones affecting businesses and companies. Now, by all means, this information, you should use it as a starting point, but hopefully you will carry on and will try to find more information. Also, I'm going to talk to you about Cyber Essentials, as I said on Wednesday, because I think it is quite important, because this guidance that you've been looking for and all this information that you've been looking for on how to achieve cybersecurity is already there. And Cyber Essentials should support you with that. And finally, something that many people don't see as related to cybersecurity, when it's actually very important to cybersecurity, is precisely to talk about GDPR. If we have time, we can make an awareness kind of quiz just to see how much you guys know already. I think Catherine is having issues connecting. But if not, then, as I said, I will just give you the starting points and then you can carry on. Okay? Take it from there. Right. So what would be your to-do list? Now, if one of the things that I will ask you if you are cybersecurity aware now and you are really taking cybersecurity seriously to implement it within your company or to make sure that you carry on with your good practice that perhaps you already have implemented by now, I have created a to-do list for you. No? So that one includes, first of all, to identify your assets. I'll talk about that one in a minute. To identify possible risks that your company might have. Again, I will talk about that one in a minute. To define your security policy, which we talked about on Wednesday. That's okay, Rowena, I understand, that's fine. As long as you can follow us, that's perfect. And you have identified the problem, so that's good. So define your security policy, set up an awareness program. Even if it is just for you, if it is a one-man or one-woman show, then make sure that you set up for yourself an awareness program, and we will talk about that one in a minute. Back up your data. We will see the options. Implement security controls. Again, we will talk about that in a minute. Establish a business continuity plan, which we haven't covered. We have mentioned very briefly, but I'll go into a bit more of detail today. Okay, so those 7 tasks would be a good start for you in your cybersecurity journey. Cybersecurity, the first steps are often awareness of what you have and what you want to achieve and what you want to protect. So most of it is planning, and once that you have identified what you are trying to achieve, what are you trying to protect, then the rest comes simple. No, if you're trying to protect your database, then okay, so what protection mechanisms are there available to me to protect my database? No, I think one of the questions that you guys had was, how can I make sure that my website is secure? Well, now that you have identified that your website is what you want to keep secure, then this is the next step. Okay, security controls technology from that point of view. Okay, so let's start with the simple ones, and I'm assuming that you have already done this, and you have comprehensive lists of all the assets that are vital to your company. Now, as we said before, we cannot expect to include everything within your list. No, the chairs, yeah, they are important and they're going to cost you money, but at the end of the day, that's not what is making your business your business. No? Perhaps your website is the most important one because that's the one facing your clients, and if you lose that one, then that's it. No? So, for example, many companies, I don't know if you're aware that Zoom had some problems in this week where it wasn't working. So all those businesses that were relying on Zoom to execute their business, had to find a second solution to carry out the meetings, perhaps, or to include, maybe they were selling courses and then the course had to be rescheduled or stopped because of that situation. So make a list of everything that is important for your company, something that you know that if it's missing at some point, it will put your business out of business for a while, not forever, but for a while. Okay, that one can include things such as computers, your servers, even if they are stored somewhere else, and if and you're hiring a company for your website hosting, still make a list, include them in your list, your email servers and so on, your storage. No, perhaps it is your own computer as well. Are you consider that one? Consider that one within your list of important equipment. No, your tablets, mobile phones, even your mobile phones should be considered network equipment, etc., etc. That would be in terms of hardware, but also include your software. No, so exactly. Are you using any specific to keep your books? No, and maybe some particular software, your email, your network service, including your network service provider, any payment systems, your email client, not only the server itself. No? And of course, consider the staff. No, what would happen from the list from all the members of staff that you have? Which one is vital? And I know that it sounds horrible. Everybody is vital within a company, but make sure that you identify the roles that are very important. Perhaps in terms of staff, would be staff roles that you think are vital for your company to continue, or your business to continue. Now, again, this example is not exhaustive. It doesn't consider all the different options. That will depend on you. You know best everything that should be included. No? Some of you could say, well, infrastructure in terms of building. I mean, if I don't have a building, then that's it. My business cannot carry out. Continue. No? Well, okay, then include your business. Not because once that you have identified those most important assets, yeah, you're right, Hans, customer and supplier data is quite important as well. So that should go within your list. And actually, I would be very happy if you start putting ideas for the rest of the group, because maybe you are considering things that somebody else hasn't considered. No? So that would be a good idea to do in the chat, no? Give ideas to the rest of us. So as I was saying, once that you have identified those assets that are quite vital, then identify possible risks to those assets. So a very good example is your website. Okay, so your website, we know that the main risk that could happen is that is the target of a denial of service attack, which means that it can bring down your website and you don't have it. No, so identify those possible risks. And actually, I would say, and maybe you have done it already because it's parts of any business that they should have. You should have perhaps done a risk assessment. And in risk assessment, either qualitative or quantitative, you already know how much in terms of money, if we are using the quantitative approach, how much money you would lose. No? And that would be quite useful because if you know that to protect your website, well, no, sorry, let me go back. If you know that if your website goes down because of a denial of service attack, and that is going to cost you, I'm just going to put an amount just to think of. If that is going to cost you £1,000 per day or per hour or whatever, and then you identify that in order to protect your website, you have to pay £100 per month, then it makes sense to then protect your website and spend that extra £100 to protect your website. No? So carry out that risk management or risk assessment to see if that would be ideal. No? To understand. One of the things that that big companies, as we probably know, they don't want to, or many companies, they don't want to incorporate securities precisely because they see it as an expense rather than as a solution. But if you do this exercise of saying, okay, well, if I'm going to be the target of phishing, ransomware, or whatever, and it's going to cost me this amount of money per year or per hour and so on, but protecting me only costs me this, then that could make sense to get it, no? And put in place the countermeasure. So verify that your system is susceptible to cyber attacks, but as Jeff is telling us as well there, staff is a risk, and that's why it brings us to the awareness program, no? Which we will talk. But in here we are considering cyber attacks, no? So phishing, are you susceptible to phishing? Is your company susceptible to ransomware, password-based attacks, denial of service, Internet of Things, or artificial intelligence? If you have any questions about any of these, just let me know and I can go back. But I think we have talked about phishing, ransomware, and so on.
Excuse me, Erika.
Yes,
I Sorry, I still don't quite understand what's the meaning of ransomware.
The meaning of ransomware. Okay, yes. And so ransomware, if you can relate it very much to when somebody is kidnapped and they ask you for money to release that specific person. No, that would be in the physical environment. In
Oh,
ransomware within computers, what they do is that they get access to your computer, they encrypt your data with a key that you don't have access to, and then they ask you for a ransom for the key. So you don't have access to your files until you pay the money to get the key.
Yeah, that's scary.
It's quite scary. So the way that the ransomware gets into your system, it could be precisely through phishing, or could be through, as it happened with NHS, or it could be by not keeping your system up to date. No? So we will talk about that in a minute as well, no? The countermeasures on how to protect. Yeah.
But what about Internet of Things attacks?
Yes. Now, if you have noticed in the past years, we saw a lot of smart things coming up in the market.
Yeah.
So somebody, Alexa was the first thing that we saw a boom happening, or as I put in there in the image, the Google Home. I mean, I would ask you guys very quickly, who has an Alexa or a Google Home at home? If you
Not yet.
You have one.
No, I don't have one.
Okay, that's good. Anybody else from the chat? You have both hands, good. Irene doesn't have one. Angela doesn't like the idea. Okay, that's interesting. So the majority is saying no. I don't want one. And I was like that at the beginning, to be honest. When Alexa and all these things came, I said I'm never going to buy one. I got one as a present, and I started to use it. To be honest, I don't use it that much except for music. But anyway, so these kind of things, they are connected to the internet. So it's not only Alexa, then it's also your smart lights. I don't have smart lights, but I'm just thinking about it. Or your smart meter.
Smartwatch?
Meter, so to get your readings from your electricity and your gas and so on. So what the suppliers started to offer to individuals and companies was precisely smart meters, which basically means they install something in your house that is connected to your meter, but it's also connected to the internet. And instead of you providing the readings of your meters every month, what they do is the smart meter does it for you automatically.
It sounds like the Apple iPhone iHealth.
The what?
It sounds like the system on iPhone iHealth.
iHealth, is it?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
iHealth is an app on the iPhone to keep a record of your health data.
Exactly. And so all of these things that are connected to the internet, and I'm going to ask you, Catherine, if you don't mind muting your microphone, because I think it's putting a little bit of
sorry.
No, that's fine. But you can keep asking questions. It's just while I give the answer, so it doesn't put any noise within my voice. So everything that you connect, for example, smart watches are connected to the internet. What else I can think of? I mean, there are coffee machines that are connected to the internet. There are fridges that are, a fridge is connected to the internet. So there's a lot of things that are now being connected to the internet, and that is precisely known as the Internet of Things. And there have been some attacks. So for example, one popular Internet of Things is a webcam. No, and many people use webcams to monitor babies or to monitor the house. No, so if you are outside your house and you want to check if everything is okay at home, then you can connect to your webcam and verify that everything is fine. Or for example, this doorbell ring. And the problem is that when they started, they had a lot of security issues. So the webcam, specifically the ones that the baby monitors, hackers managed to get into them, and they were talking to the baby. So imagine how scary was that, no? They were using it to talk to the babies and shout profanity and so on. But they demonstrated that it was a way of getting into your network. Alexa has also been that part, and a big issue with Alexa is that it is recording, is listening all the time. Some of you, Rowena is asking about smart meters. Yeah, they are an issue as well because they are connected to your network, although the good thing is that companies have started to realize of the risk, so they are making sure that that risk is being minimized. So there is carry-on work to do that. And again, the problem with the Internet of Things and with all these devices that we are seeing coming up is that there is no law, it's not law, sorry, there is no security framework defined for them. There is no standard. So business that develop this type of technology, they just create the technology and they don't have any framework to follow to establish security. So that's why they end up with so much security issues, so many security issues. But at the end of the day, companies have realized that. The government is realizing this, and they are working with companies to make sure that this is minimized. But there is still the risk that if something new shows up or appears, then they will have for sure maybe a security issue. No? So hopefully that clarifies the Internet of Things attacks. John mentions. Yes.
Thank you. I understand it very well, but you know, as you said, companies are making more and more Internet of Things devices like Alexa, smart meters, web camera. We want the companies, but how are we going to provide the attacks?
Yes, and that's precisely the idea of today. No, so the elements that I'm going to give you today should protect you against these attacks. No, you're not going to achieve 100% security. That's something that we need to understand. There is no 100% secure system. But if you follow certain steps that I'm going to give you today and that I'm giving you today, then you should be able to protect against these attacks. Yeah.
Erica, sorry, another question.
Yes.
Artificial intelligence. What do you mean by artificial intelligence attacks?
Yes, I will answer the question. If you could mute your microphone and I will give you the answer. Thank you very much, Catherine. And that's excellent. So another thing that we have seen, especially in the past 5 years, it's the rise of artificial intelligence. Now it's a big topic that everybody's talking about, and artificial intelligence is being used to for many security mechanisms. An example of how you use artificial intelligence in your daily life is if you use Google search. They use artificial intelligence algorithms to analyze which ones are the best results for you. No, it happens in many different aspects of, for example, Facebook, media, advertising. They use artificial intelligence algorithms to display and know which sort of information you need. Now, Amazon to recommend you things to buy, or books, music, etc., etc. So artificial intelligence is becoming very important. And as I said, the problem is that it can be used for also bad things. So these algorithms, attackers can use them to learn more about you and then learn how to target you with an attack. No, so we talked about social media and Facebook. What they do is they have very good algorithms to analyze your behavior when you are in Facebook. No, so for example, if they show you an advertisement about shoes and you click on it, then you will notice that most of the news that you receive in Facebook or posts or recommendations starts to be directed towards shoes because you clicked on that. So those algorithms are available as well to the hands of the attackers, so they can use the same information to target you or your business. So yeah, so that's basically it. No, and artificial intelligence keeps evolving. Now, and I will go to the comments in a minute that you are kindly putting in the chat. But one of the things that we need to also consider is that the Internet of Things and artificial intelligence and all the new things that are going to come in the future, because I'm sure that we're going to keep evolving, they are trying to make our life and our businesses simpler. And don't expect that they will disappear, or don't expect that because they are a security issue or anything else, they will just go away and people are not going to adopt it. No, people are aware of the confidentiality and privacy issues with Alexa and Google Home, and we still have them. No, the only thing that we need to make sure is that we understand the risks and we are accepting the risk, but also that we take steps to try to minimize the risk. So not to eliminate it, because maybe that's not possible, but at least to minimize it. Okay. So let me go to the comments. So yeah, we covered smart meters. They were a security threat. My suggestion is, if you are planning on using a smart meter, then go for companies that are well established. No, so things such as BT or British Gas. Sorry. Make sure that those companies that are well established and that you know that they will take responsibility for whatever happens, that's the ones that you are using, no, not new things. Spotify is more of a service of music rather than an Internet of Things. So you can see an Internet of Things of something that you were not expecting to be connected to the Internet before, not like a coffee machine. No, we were never expecting to have the coffee machine connected. So that would be part of Internet of Things. Spotify is more of a service, which the risk in there is that somebody could maybe hack your account and get access to your credit card details. But that is the same for every service that is available that uses credit card information. The Vika says, when I had therapy with my clients, I always tell them to remove Alexa, etc. That's very important, and that's very wise of you, the Vika. I'm guessing you provide some sort of counseling and therapy, so that's actually quite important. I don't believe I have heard. I have worked with therapists and they have never mentioned that. No, so that's quite interesting. You can also ask Amazon to provide you with the recordings that they have, and also you can ask them to delete the recording. So there are ways that you could work with this Alexa, because like it or not, they are nice to have for certain people. Also, we're not going to tell them stop using them. They are quite useful for some people, as I said. Geoff says there have been reports of burglars using Alexa to open the front door for them. Yes, precisely because we are using Alexa to control everything. No, so Alexa open the door, or Alexa, I think it has been used as well to order things, to record conversations, as we said. So it has its risks. So what is a protection wrapper that a home business can use for these devices? And that's a very good question, Hans. In here, the recommendation with this thing and your computers and everything is go and search for the security recommendations of your provider. They are there. So think about it in terms of Windows. When you buy Windows, you use it just with the out-of-the-box kind of requirements. So, but you never go, or well, as usually users, they don't go more into depth on what else is offered by Windows. Now, every single provider is going to come out of the box with the simplest functionality as possible, because they want to make sure that you find the use of the equipment or the software simple, and that you don't see it as something very complicated to use. But once that you have it within your system, established and installed and so on, go and read the security recommendations, research more on what you can do in order to stop that. Actually, I would say before you buy it and before you acquire the equipment or the software, research on the possible security issues that companies have disclosed. That's really, really important. Catherine, you have a question.
At the bottom, you wrote carry out a penetration test. What do could you explain how you carry out the penetration test?
Yes, of course, I will do that. Just very quickly, somebody mentioned smart TV. Yeah, that's another thing. If you notice, you are not very familiar with Alexa, but they have the Echo Show, and the Echo Show comes with a camera. And they realize that this is a security issue, so now the Echo Show comes with something to disable the camera. No? The same happens with smart TVs. Although I'm not quite sure if all smart TVs come with cameras and mics. Apparently they do, Hans. But the ones that I have, they don't. So I'm guessing yours is more sophisticated. But things such as the Switch, the Nintendo Switch, comes with a camera and a microphone that has been hacked or had some security issues. Xbox also, everything has a risk. But as I said before, read this, the companies are not going to risk it and make themselves open for you to later blame them for a security issue. So what they are doing is that they are providing with some level of security and security recommendations. So the idea is for you to go back and do that. Yes, never use the default settings. Job mentioned something about the CAPTCHA system, and this is a good example of artificial intelligence. So have you noticed when you go to a website, it comes with a CAPTCHA system asking you, okay, please click on the traffic lights, no? Just to verify that you're not a robot. Actually, the CAPTCHA system is not checking that you are clicking in the correct elements there. It's just verifying that your behavior when you're clicking. So even if you click incorrectly, you're not clicking on the traffic lights. What they are checking is that your movements, no, they are analyzing how you're doing it. Because if you are a robot, you're going to be clicking everywhere or not following a pattern that is expected from certain person. So that can be learned, no? Right. So going back to the question of Catherine, and so one of the things that, as I said, is identify your possible risks. And something that is always recommended to companies, but it has a price, it has a cost, is to carry out a penetration testing test. So there are available companies online, consultancy companies, that offer the service of checking that your website or that your email server or your computers, your network, etc., are not susceptible to the most common attacks. Yeah, so you don't have to do it if you're not very knowledgeable on how to perform the penetration test, but you could do it. You could hire a company to do so, but as I said, it comes with a price. I mean, if you are IT savvy, if you are familiar with IT and you would like to do it yourself, sorry, I moved, then what you could do is there's a tool called Kali Linux. So if you're not afraid of experimenting, but again, that's very, very technical. No, so I wouldn't ask you to do it yourselves. I will share just my screen with Kali, so that would be Kali Linux. It is a virtual machine that contains a Linux virtual machine that contains all the different tools that you can use to test your systems. So if you have your website, you can test to see if it is susceptible to a denial of networks attack. Or if you have a computer, it will check to see if your computer is susceptible to a denial of service or malware injection and so on. Okay.
Excuse me, Erica, could you please share the link with us?
Yes, I will put the link. One of the things that I forgot to say at the beginning, I have everything ready for you, and I will include this link for you. No, but as I said, this is very, very technical, so I wouldn't dare to ask you to try it yourselves.
But it's good to know.
Because it is very technical. No, you need to be very aware of Linux and systems and so on. So ideally, it's hire a company to do it for you. But if you consider yourself a very technical person, then by all means go and check Kali Linux. No.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all right. I think I saw a hand up. Ola, did you have a question? Do you want to ask a question? But I think you're on mute. Let me see if I can unmute. Yes.
Yeah. I haven't got any question. I was just rubbing.
Sorry. Sorry about that. Yes, I thought that you had a question. Sorry, but thank you. Right. Okay. So now, in terms of penetration testing, and I'm not quite sure if I mean we could support you if needed. No, one of the things that we teach our students is to carry out penetration tests, and as part of their projects, and if you're interested, without any charge, they could do that for you. I'm not trying to sell any business in here. I'm just, as a university, offering you the possibility. No, so if you are interested, but knowing that somebody that is learning also would do it within your company, then by all means, just let me know if you're interested, and we can arrange that. No, but as I said, I'm not trying to sell anything in here. Sorry, I removed the sharing of the screen, but hopefully we should be back now. Right, so let me check the chat just to make sure that I answered everything. I was the subject of a multi-stage smishing attack on my mobile phone yesterday, claiming to be from PayPal. Wow, it was very realistic, and it went on for 30 minutes and involved 15 texts. That's a scary job. And so yeah, I mean, if we have some time, perhaps at the end we can talk about it, because it sounds quite interesting. My first question is, how did you realize that it was an attack?
I checked over the link, and it was obviously not a PayPal link.
There you go. Yeah.
And whilst it was going on, it was claiming that there was a problem on my PayPal account, and click on the link to that there was something had been put into my into one of the reserve folders on PayPal, and click on the link to correct the problem. So
okay.
I went to PayPal on my computer through the PayPal correct link and checked everything. And
really?
while I was there, I changed my PayPal password.
Exactly. That's exactly what you needed to do. Well done. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's funny enough, I don't trust PayPal. I have seen a lot of issues with PayPal because many people use it, many businesses use it. So there's a lot of scam. I have PayPal as well, and I receive lots of phishing emails with that message, no, a very similar message to what you said, but I have never seen it in my mobile.
Yeah.
So, I think one of the things that you could also do is to report it to your mobile provider. You can block the number.
Yeah.
And you can report it to your mobile provider, and they will block it as well. They will mark it as spam.
Yeah. Well, I've got rid of all but one of the messages, so that I could do that very thing.
Okay.
And I'm going to pass the details on to PayPal as well, which is what they ask for.
Yeah, that's very good. Yep.
I only use PayPal occasionally because of one of the I use an image gallery software, and that will only accept PayPal.
Okay. Yeah.
But all our other financial activities online happen using a much more respected financial company.
Yeah, I mean, PayPal is good, but just make sure that, as I said before, that you are following the recommendations of multi-factor authentication, all of these things, no?
Yeah.
To make sure that you are not open to an attack.
Right? Yeah, no, we use two-part and we've been using it for years.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Hans, you have a question or a comment?
All I was going to say, I think you covered it there at the end, but PayPal as a service and a service provider and its process is probably sound, but it's susceptible to being cloned by people. But I think, in fairness to PayPal, if you've set up all the right security activities and you use it and ignore the cloning that's going on around it, from end to end with its encryption in that, presumably it's certified and safe.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just that, as I said, precisely because it is so widely used, it is many attackers use it for phishing and trying to trick, people to click on links and so on. But I have heard, I think there was an attack of PayPal a few years ago. And they managed to get credit card informations, etc., etc. So they demonstrated that their security was not very robust, as I said a few years ago. But I'm assuming it has increased as well. No? So thank you very much. Right. So Ola, I took note of that you are interested, and as I said to the rest of you, if you're interested on having a student to do a penetration testing, it helps them for their practice in a real environment, but of course it also helps you as a business to understand it.
Have you ever done a stress test on the ARU and its interfaces? Yes,
they have, especially because they are Cyber Essentials Plus, and they are looking into other certifications. They have to do these type of things. Yep. And one of the things that happened with COVID, when everybody moved to working online, is precisely that they realized that the system was able to cope precisely because of the tests that they have done before. Yep. All right. So we're still in step number 2, or in to-do list number 2. And the next one would be to write your security policy. And we talked about very quickly on Wednesday. And so my suggestion is to start simple. So just define those things that are very relevant to you, like a password policy, like a hardware and software update policy. So how often are you going to keep your hardware updated and your software as well updated? And testing policies, and I put it there in bold, precisely because it involves what we talked about, elements of the Internet of Things. Whenever you are introducing something new into your system, before you introduce it into your system, test it. No, so what would be the testing policy for that? A good starting point, as I said there, is going into these security policy templates that the SANS Institute, which is a security institute that supports in terms of training and resources. They also have templates. So let's say that you want a template for an antivirus guideline. You go there, you check the template, and you can make it relevant to your business. No? So always run the corporate standard antivirus software, and you can even put the name of the software that you are telling them to use as an antivirus, delete spam, etc., etc. Now, some of them are a bit old, and that's why they have been retired, but you can find lots of them in terms of network security, and so on, no? Server security, etc., or general ones. Unfortunately, they removed the one about password policy, but you can find examples online, no? So in here, your email policy. So start writing those guidelines that you know that will be very helpful for your employers and for yourself, and that you know that you have something in place as part of your security policy. Yeah. So the etiquette to write an email, etc., etc. So that link is already included in here. No, so that would be that one in here. Okay. Then once that you have your policy and so on, and as we have talked about in lengthy space, establish your awareness program. No? There are very well-defined training courses that you can look for. And I'm sure that if you mention this to BEST or some other companies that are supporting, or organizations that are supporting to you or small businesses to get more training, maybe they can come up with something for you. But again, one good starting point would be IT governance, and this website as well has lots of information in terms of data privacy, cybersecurity. But of course, it comes with a cost. No, it comes with a cost to you. No, but in terms of training or staff awareness, so I was already there. It has some already courses about GDPR or cybersecurity, etc., etc. No? So again, I have put the link in there. And also, I have the offer for you that if you want somebody from your company to get access to a course that is called Cyber Essentials or Introduction to Cybersecurity, although it's very IT oriented and perhaps very networking oriented, and as I said, I used some of the material for this workshop. You can get access to it as part of the Cisco Networking Academy. And it's free. No, so just let me know if you would be interested, and we can give you access. No, and this is also a benefit that you get for coming from BEST.
Excuse me, Erica. Is this course online or on site?
It would be online.
Yeah, I would like to apply for it.
Yes, of course. I mean, it covers again the same elements that we have covered in here, but in more depth. And it is self-paced. It comes with activities and so on. So yes, by all means, I would.
Sounds great.
Yeah. So if you could send me an email, or if you can mention it in the chat, then
I will read my email address in the chat right now.
Excellent. So this comes from, as I said, part of what BEST is offering you and what Anglia Ruskin is also offering you through the Cisco Networking Academy. No? So hopefully you will find it useful. Then awareness, as we said, if you could mute your...
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. Now, don't share your email through the chat. I meant send me an email, and I will get you access to it. Now you have shared your email with the rest of the group, so hopefully you don't mind. So okay, but anyway, so there are lots of courses online available as well. Now, once that you have identified a specific topic, the government also has some. SANS, as I showed you, has some, but sometimes they can be expensive. No, so we have some that we can offer you for free. Okay. The next to do thing that the next thing to do, sorry, is to back up your data. And we have talked about it, but again, it's something to stress out. Now, you need to identify what you need to back up. You need to keep your backup separate from your computer. As I mentioned to you before, I use my computer for business and personal things. So make sure that, yes, you do that, but you have something somewhere else now, which could be the cloud, as we mentioned before. The government has provided some guidance about cloud security. So we talked about Dropbox, and we talked about OneDrive. Those are the two ones that I mainly use and that I am aware of. I think there's the other one. Box was the third one. But the thing is that those ones are quite robust. They come with maybe, as I said before, they are not 100% secure, and they have been the target of attacks. But at least they come with the support of a big company, no? That we know that they are going to take responsibility if something happens. And not only have one backup, have two backups, no? So in that case, if something goes wrong in one, then you can have the other one. And if possible, keep your data encrypted, no? Even if they manage to get access to your files in Dropbox, at least you have the peace of mind that you encrypted the information and they will not be able to access it. Yeah. Make backing up your everyday business. The advantage of using this type of services like Dropbox or OneDrive is that the backup is done automatically for you. So as soon as you save the file is stored as well in the cloud. And also it has evolved so much that you can recover previous versions, etc. Now, I use the paid service, and to be honest, it has been quite good because it comes with other benefits. This is for Dropbox, but overall, they have been quite good. No, but you can read more guidance about security in those links that I have provided there now. So backup is quite important. Now, before I used to do it in a physical hard drive, and I'm sure that maybe you do it as well, but it had the disadvantage that it became obsolete. It was very difficult to connect to the Mac. It was not very compatible to iOS devices. Connecting it was very cumbersome, and then doing the backup every day. So cloud became the best solution for me, simplify things. In my case, I'm very practical, and I don't want to have to go around and doing these kind of things. So as long as I know that it has some level of security, but it also makes my life easier, then I will use it. No? Then implement security controls that protect you, as we said, against the most typical attacks. No, the first one would be to protect against ransomware. And Catherine, you were asking about this one before. Well, to protect against that one is have an antivirus and make sure that antivirus is running. Make sure that you and your staff are not downloading dodgy apps. That includes dodgy apps in your computer and in mobile devices. So be aware of the recommendations for Android if you are using Android on the type of applications that they are recommending you to remove or that they are not providing any support. So Google Store or Google Play or whatever, Play Store, sorry, and iOS, Apple Store, sorry, both of them, I don't know if you're aware, but they follow the same security principles when an application is put into the store. So they have security controls. Apple seems to be more vigilant. They follow to the letter what they say. Now, if you produce an app, your app has to follow certain security requirements for them to offer it via the App Store. So that's why it's very strange to see applications in App Store that are attacks or that can represent an attack. I'm not saying it's 100% bulletproof, but it's very difficult to find a dodgy app in the App Store. Play Store is a bit more lax in those security controls. So the thing to look for in Android devices and App Store is to see that they have the seal from Google saying we have checked this app. No, so that tells you that the app has been gone through the whole process. But you still will see apps that don't have that certificate stamp. Then it means that you shouldn't install them. No, I wouldn't recommend you to install them. Hans, you have a question? Yes. Sorry,
Yeah.
a question or a comment?
With Microsoft and Apple using iOS and various other applicational bases, one of their marketing features is to upgrade their machines, and gradually you can no longer run that software platform, XP and things like that. You know, is the only real alternative to sort of distance those machines away from the external interface if you need to continue to use them, or are there other layers that you can, you know, I've got an iMac and my iMac now will not take the latest version, although it works functionally very well. What can you do?
So how old is your iMac?
It's probably 2014, something like that, 14, 15.
Years old?
No, year.
Ah, okay, sorry.
So it's
Wow.
5, 6 years old, but it won't.
Okay.
There are already features in the latest downloads that it says, I've become too old, I can no longer take this. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, so you cannot upgrade to the latest operating system.
But the machine, it won't allow you. It recognises the age of the machine and the build of the machine, and it won't allow you to download it.
Yeah, that's a problem. But my understanding from Mac or from iOS is that unless they have a specified end of life, as we call it,
yeah,
for specific computers, then they are still providing support. So if your computer is not on the list of end of life, then you're still receiving updates. No, that's for sure. The problem, as you said, is that certain applications that maybe you're using are expecting a newer operating system. So in there, my suggestion is keep using them, just making sure that hold on, let me think about it. Let me think of the words that I'm gonna tell you. So as long as your computer is still not end of life, you're still receiving the upgrades. So that should be fine, which means that the applications that are running as well on your computer should receive the updates. Okay? If your computer has reached end of life, then my recommendation within a business environment would be to upgrade the hardware. Yeah?
Yes.
That solves your question?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Excellent. That's fine. Now, Angela, if you can, sorry, Hans, if you can lower your hand, that would be perfect. Now, Angela, you ask how can you encrypt your data on your computer? Now, maybe here the Windows experts in the audience can help me out with this one. What I can tell you from the Mac, and actually that was something that I was gonna. So, are you using Mac or Windows, Angela? I think I'm not quite sure if Angela can hear me. Windows. Okay. Well, I'm guessing it has the same principle in Windows as in Mac, but in Mac, within your security and privacy settings, which I'm hoping at some point is going to load, Teams, I see it as a virus because Microsoft Teams is making my computer very, very slow. But anyway, in the settings of my operating system, it gives me the option of encrypting the files automatically. Yeah, exactly. Windows 10 uses BitLocker. Yes, that I knew that they had a solution. Thank you very much, Will. So it's just that I don't use Windows and I always keep forgetting. But yes, so there is the option. Your operating system provides you with the tools to encrypt your files. Now be very careful in here because when you encrypt, it's going to ask you to set up a password. And if you lose that password, then that's it. Now, as you can see, in my case, it says a recovery key has been set. So I made sure that I have my recovery key somewhere safe. It's usually a number or some characters, hexadecimal of a specific length. And so I know that if I want to recover my files, it should be fine. Now, I found this very useful because when I said to you my computer was stolen, I knew that they couldn't get access to the files because it was protected. Yes, Angela, so it comes with the operating systems. So for Windows 10, check BitLocker. Thank you, Will, and it will allow you to do that now. So going back to this slide, keep all your IT equipment up to date. So make sure that your software is being updating regularly, especially your operating system, because as we see, operating systems are providing more and more elements that improve security, but also that solve security issues, not like we saw with the NHS and Windows 7. So Windows keeps checking their operating systems to see if they find a vulnerability, and as soon as they detect a vulnerability, they come up with a solution, and then that solution needs to be installed in your computer. And the way that you do that is precisely by patching up your equipment. This doesn't only apply to your computers and your mobile devices as well, and your tablets. It also applies to your router, your router at home. It also applies to your Alexas. Everything, every equipment that you have connected then should be kept up to date. No? Now, I'm not quite sure how many of you still use USB drives. I know that in big companies it is still a practice. So these USBs that you connect to have files and to transfer files and so on. If you're still using them like Rowena, then make sure that your antivirus is going to check the contents as soon as you connect them, because it is quite well known that USB drives can infect computers. And also the same with memory cards. I did exactly the same, Angela. I moved to cloud and everything now I can access it through cloud. But I have seen that when I go and give presentations or talks in some companies, they don't give you access to the internet. So, and they don't allow you to use your computer. So then it means that you have to use something protected. Also, if you have your USB and you want to protect your USB, there are some very sophisticated ones that come with encryption, with password and so on. So that way you protect the information that is in the USB drive. Okay. Rowena says that you have to do a lot of catching up with technology, but that's perfect. I think you understand that technology is a way forward, no? And especially with the COVID-19, and especially that we saw everything moving to work from home, with Brexit and now doing business with Europe and so on, and opening the market to other countries, technology is going to play a very important role. No? The other thing is switch on your firewall, and we'll talk about that one in a minute as well. No? But make sure that you have firewall. To protect your smartphones and tablets safe, switch on password protection. No, for your devices like smartphone and tablets, don't only use the thumbprint or the face recognition, also try to use a PIN or numbers, or I think in some, well, in smartphones, Samsung devices, you can put patterns, etc. No? So make sure that it's not only reliant on one thing. Make sure that you use this very good facility of online controlling your devices. Catherine, you have a question, or somebody has a question?
Yeah, actually, make sure lost or stolen device can be tracked logged on web. I'm very interested in this question. I want to know how to make sure the lost or stolen device can be tracked, logged or webbed.
Yes, so most of the smartphones and tablets, they come with a tracking service. So for example, if you're using iPhone, it comes with iCloud. And iCloud, one of the services that they have is precisely the Find My Phone. So you can find your phone or find my device. Samsung also comes with the same. For their Samsung devices. So every single smartphone and tablet comes with this already. So the idea is that you can track your devices. It doesn't pose any security risk because it is protected. No, and if it is hacked, then it comes with the support of the companies. You have the risk that your device is always, it has location services on. No, so you need to understand what that risk is, or what risk that imposes. But it also means that it allows you to find your phone. I mean, if you are like me, I'm always losing my mobile device, even at home. So I can connect to the service and ask the service to make my phone start doing noises, so that way I can find it. But it also gives a facility that if somebody steals that, then you can log into the service and you can wipe, which means erase everything from your phone or lock the phone. Yeah. So one of the mistakes that I made when somebody stole my computer is that I didn't have location services enabled. So when the police came and they asked us about this, we said, no, I'm sorry, it cannot be tracked. So I couldn't I couldn't track it, I couldn't lock it, and I couldn't wipe it. No, so if they connected my computer, my iMac, and they switch it on, they will see the welcome screen asking for my login and password. But the good thing is that I use other security practices, no? A long password, everything is encrypted, and it has been almost a year since this happened, and I haven't seen any security issues. Of course, I changed all my passwords, which is also that you also need to do. So make sure that you use that. It's there for your help and support, and believe me, it saves you a lot of trouble if you lose your device. If you are like me, that your life is in the mobile, then it is something that you definitely need to do. Hans, you have a question.
Excuse me, Erika. You just mentioned the iPhone. We can use Find My Phone to find the iPhone, but what about Samsung? Actually, I'm using Samsung phones right now, so I'm curious about.
Samsung also has the Find My Samsung or Find My Device service. What we can do, if you want to, Catherine, I can send you a link with the instructions on how to enable it.
Yeah, but that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. It also comes with the service. Hans. Yeah. Hans, you have a question?
Yeah, sorry. Because I've had some Wi-Fi issues at home. I've been using NetSpot in conjunction with EE and stuff. And what I've been amazed at is in my local area, the number of domestic residences that have no security protection whatsoever set up on their Wi-Fi for their incoming server. So you can literally go and just hack into anybody with no authentication, or issues. And I just am somewhat in awe of how vulnerable some of these people are.
And it takes us back to awareness. No, I mean, I'm surprised that that is still the case, because one of the things that providers have done is they come out of the box with a password to connect to the network, and they come with certain security basics. So what I'm thinking then is that they have deliberately removed security and have put open authentication, which is more scary.
I can currently see Sky, 2 Skies and 1 BT that haven't even got any security WAP set up or anything like that. They're just coming up as open.
And also be very careful to try to connect, no, because maybe if they are trying to fish, no, they are trying to see who could connect. But yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised in the sense that we have heard so many scary issues, such as the one that you're telling me, that, yeah, for example, as Jobs is saying, many suppliers are still using admin as a default password. Yeah, what have I seen as well? I mean, we saw the passwords of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was interesting, our IT support a few years ago, when the guy had a whiteboard on his back, no? So every time that you went to his office, you could see the whiteboard. And what he did is, in the whiteboard, he wrote all the passwords that he was using. So I had to have a very good chat with him, because the students would go in there to ask for support, members of staff. So I would have to ask him to remove that and move to something more secure. But yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. There's a lot of lack of awareness, and there are specific parts of the community. So for example, people that are not very familiar with technology, that they don't like technology, that they just don't want to use it, or because they find it difficult, they decide just to go for without security and so on. No, so going back to this, try to use your track, lock, and wipe element. Dropbox, for example, offers that as well. So if you go to certain settings of Dropbox, it tells you, okay, your account is being used in these devices. You can choose the device that you want to remove it from, and you can wipe the information. So that's quite useful. That's actually what I did as well when my computer was stolen. No, so that way that gives you peace of mind. No, that at least that information is being kept safe. As I said, keep your device up to date. If your if your mobile device is telling you there's an update, then as soon as you can, do the update, no? Because for sure it will have a security update that you will require. And also keep your apps up to date, no? Not only your operating system and so on, but also the applications. So I think iOS just released a new version of the operating system, which means that all the applications at some point will need to be updated. So make sure that that is being done, okay? And as we said before, just don't connect to unknown Wi-Fi hotspots. One thing that you made me also remember, Hans, is that yesterday, for example, somebody came to fix the electricity and they switched everything off, including my router. And all of a sudden, I could see my mobile device connecting to my son's mobile phone Wi-Fi, because he had it as a hotspot. So the good thing is that he had password protection and so on. But I said to him, why is your phone acting as a hotspot? No, so it is quite useful. I remember that we used it when we were traveling, and he wanted to play online, so he connected to my smartphone because I have unlimited data, and also he used it to connect to his phone. So it's quite useful, and I was using it as well yesterday when I didn't have electricity. But make sure that you don't leave it on. No, switch it off just in case. No? Pamela said that she misplaced an Android tablet. So you had also the track and remotely removed everything from Samsung. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and that's a good thing that everything is stored in the cloud. So if you are lucky enough to get the device back, you can restore that everything that you lost. No? So that's very good. Very good examples. Right. To protect your data, make sure you switch on password protection, as we said before. So if you have encryption, if you have everything else, if you don't put an account into your devices, then what's the point? No, if you don't protect your password, your devices with a password, then everything else is going to the trash. No. So as we said, encrypt your files, use two-factor authentication for important accounts. Security gives you more work, no, and it doesn't make things easier. That's the reality. So the idea of two-factor authentication is that you have to go about two things and do the authentication. Well, do it for your important accounts. Yeah. Somebody has a question? Hans?
No.
Oh, sorry, it's just that your microphone was on. That's why.
Excuse me, Erica.
Yes.
How do you make your use? I mean, how do you encrypt your data?
As we said before, the operating system. So if you're using Windows, BitLocker would be the application that encrypts your data. Yeah.
Yeah.
For your iOS devices, you can use the file vault that comes with the operating system. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
is it easy to find the relevant information online?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
That's okay. So I have another comment on here from Pamela. So it says there is a point about storage in the cloud. You cannot easily get your photos from the cloud to another place. It is limited to small downloads. So I strongly recommend a terabit hard drive storage outside your laptop and back up to this. Yeah, that's an excellent point. If you have lots of data, then you will need to pay for a service. No, as I said, I use Dropbox, not the business edition, but the one in between. No, I think it is a personal edition, which also gives me an account for me and an account, I think, for my son. But it has a limit. So you can also check this protecting bulk personal data, which I forgot to mention. So that gives you the choice. So it gives you recommendations on if you have lots and lots of information, what can you use? Now you use Dropbox free version, and that's very limited. So in my case, I use it not only for my personal things, but also for my business things. So that's why I decided to go for the payment, for the pay option.
It does give you 3.5 gig of free storage. Which
Yeah,
for personal
It's
use.
5G.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
Sorry, Catherine?
As far as I can remember, the Dropbox, the free version is 5G.
The free version is very small. Yeah. It's not enough. So contemplate the use of something else or a combination of, for example, you can combine between OneDrive, Box, and iCloud, and what's the other one? Dropbox. So those four you have, if all of them are offering, let's say 5 gigs, then at least you have 20 gigs for free. No? So that can be used for certain things. But as Rowena, if you're using high resolution photography that cannot be easily stored in a cloud, then maybe an external drive would be enough. But also remember, you can encrypt the information in your external drive, and you can still apply security to those. No? So yeah, so going back to password protection, avoid using predictable passwords. So you can try that website that I have put in there, which I'm gonna put now in here.
Excuse me, Erica.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, tell me.
Can you please return to the slides?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Part C. Use two-factor authentication for important accounts. I don't quite understand the meaning of factor authentication.
Yes, so when you go to your, let's say, Facebook account or Dropbox account or any of these accounts that offer two-factor authentication, for example, Amazon. When you go to Amazon and you go to security settings, they have one option of enabling two-factor authentication. So two-factor authentication means that you can use your password to authenticate yourself, but also if you're connecting from a new device, it will ask you for a number that it is being calculated by a specific software that you install in your device. Yeah, so you can think about it in terms of your when you access your bank account. When you access your bank account, it asks you for your login and password, but you also have an app installed in your mobile phone that gives you a code that code then you put into your login details, and then it allows you to access your account. That is two-factor authentication. You're using your password, but you're also using a code that is being sent either to an application or via a text message. Yeah, as Pamela says, exactly. And the good thing is that you can specify that you trust this device or you trust this web browser, so it doesn't ask you to do this two-factor authentication every single time. Yeah, is it clear, Catherine?
Yeah, basically you have a password, but when you have a no password, but actually when you are going to do something, you have to enter another password, which will be sent to your phone.
Exactly, a code, and that code is unique. It's a one-time password, and it's never going to be repeated. No, so that's
yeah. So basically, two-factor authentication means you every time you use your service, you will have a new code.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand. Thank you.
That's fine. And now going back in terms of passwords, you can check with this website. This website is for education purposes. It doesn't store anything. It doesn't send anything through the internet. So if you want to check how secure is your password, now let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that password is telling you it can be cracked instantly. No, but in change, if you use I like to dance, it takes 1 day. But if I use a combination of I like to dance with numbers 1, 2, 3, it goes all the way to 100,000 years to crack the password. So you can check how secure is your password as well. No, help your staff cope with password overload, and we have mentioned this before plenty of times. Now, I know that you have your doubts about password managers, but the recommendation and again, having in mind that all these companies are well backed up and they are making themselves responsible if something happens, then you can use things such as one password, or I forgot the one that I use. Well, that one. But you can use them. So they are quite useful, and actually they also provide you with authenticators that you can use for two-factor authentication, etc., etc. No? And as we said before, make sure that you change default passwords. No? So if you are buying an equipment and the equipment comes with a password, change the password. If you're getting a service and the service comes with a password, change the password. And remember when we talked about the security policy, within your password policy, make sure that you specify that you are changing your passwords every 6 months. Yeah, so you have to keep changing your passwords. That's very, very important. LastPass is the one that I was looking for. Yes, thank you very much. So Rowena is about to change from Android service from Virgin Media to Sky. So who's responsible for retrieving my data? This is a service given by Samsung. So Samsung has a service because you have a Samsung device that allows you to track the phone and allows you to back it up, etc., no, wipe it, and so on. Virgin Media and Sky, they only provide you the service of internet connection. Not internet, sorry, 4G connectivity and so on, mobile connectivity, okay? So that service comes with your operating system itself, not with the service provider of your internet connection, okay? I thought the latest advice is that changing passwords less frequently is more secure. Not quite, at least 6 months still. No, they were saying a year. There's still discussion about that one. No, so yeah, perhaps keep up to date to the latest recommendation, but the latest one that I am aware of is 6 months. We recently had the visit from, well, not recently, before the lockdown, the cybercrime police came to give a chat to our students and our members of staff. And that was precisely the recommendation. You have to keep changing your password still every 6 months. Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. You just said it's recommended that you change your password every 6 months. But I don't understand why every 6 months, not once a year or once 2 years.
Yeah, because imagine if your password is weak and somebody manages to crack it, then it means that you're giving them 6 months to reuse it. Now, this is still coming from the idea that we are using the same password for everything. No? Perhaps if you're using a password manager, the requirement can be extended beyond those 6 months. But if you're not using a password manager, then try to change your password frequently, especially if you keep using them the same in different accounts. So, for example, the university policy is to change the password every year because we use a single login, no one-time password authentication. So that means that I only need to provide my password once, and that allows me to connect to many different systems. So in order to avoid any issues, if my account is being hacked, they ask us to change it every 6 months precisely because of the sensitivity, no, of the different repetition of use of the password. I don't know if I made it clear, but if you're using a password manager and you're using different accounts for your different password for your different accounts, then you can extend that, okay? Some workplaces make you change it every 30 days. Yes, again, it depends on the policy, no? So I think for Microsoft, I'm going to share that link that you sent us. So in here, the green box, by default, passwords are set to expire in 90 days. Current research strongly indicates that mandated password changes do more harm than good. The drivers, that's password. That's Microsoft's policy. No, so I would like to see what they are using as source, but research still keeps saying that you should change your password. No, although it is changing because of the different technology that we're using. Yeah, I think they are assuming that you are using, as we said, all these controls that we have mentioned before. Okay. Right. To avoid phishing attacks, configure accounts to reduce the impact of successful attacks. So basically all of you have an account to log into your Windows system. Yes? The problem is that before, I mean, now Windows has changed it, is that that account had administrative rights, and administrative rights meant that you could do everything that you wanted within your computer. You had the right to create accounts, you had the right to install things, etc., etc. Okay, so in here the recommendation is separate your administrative account from the account that you're using for your work. Okay, and always use the accounts that you are using for work. Never use your administrative account, and only use it when necessary. So if you have noticed in Windows, sometimes when you are running an application or a software, it tells you this software needs administrative access. Please provide the password of the administrator. That's precisely that separation. No, now, why is not recommended to use the administrative account? Precisely because it has a lot of power. And try to apply that for every single element that requires a password. No? So there's always going to be an admin account, a root account as we call it, because that's the one that controls everything. So make sure that you limit the access to that administrative account, and make sure that not many people is aware of the password, no, for that administrative account. You can actually create accounts according to roles. No? So you could say this person only should have access only to these applications. No, an access to other applications needs to be requested, and so on. Okay, that takes us to the second point. Now think about how you operate. So do you really need everybody to get access to everything? Can you minimize the access? Also think about in terms of your resilience. No, is it safe that you are the only one that keeps control of the accounts? No, so think about how you operate and how would you like to make sure that everything is controlled. Because as we said, and as Geoff said at some point, staff is a risk. No, so if you have an angry employee, if you have an employee that is not security aware, and they have access to your systems, then that's it. No, a lot of the attacks that we see come from insiders, not from people that know this access. Okay, check out for the obvious signs of phishing. So for that, I have put you this link, and I would have loved to do an exercise on how to detect phishing, but unfortunately we're not going to have the time. So this one provides you with tips on what to look for. No, so that's very important. But the other link that I have included, phishing doesn't always come just from emails. It comes as well from attachments. Yeah, it comes from macros in Excel, if you're still using macros, from social media exploits. LinkedIn also has phishing attacks, and so on. No, we heard about the SMS phishing or smishing. So this one, I would suggest check it, no, and make sure that you understand the other risks apart from emails, no, because it doesn't just come from there. But also report attacks, and here in the UK you can report attacks using the Action Fraud website. So in here you have a way of reporting a phishing attempt or reporting fraud. And also, for example, in your case, Geoff, you could go here and report that one. Also, the recommendation, as we said, is that if this is an SMS, then mention it to your service provider, or check if your service provider has a way of reporting this type of cybercrime. Also check in your device. So for example, Samsung comes with a spam detection. So when you receive a phone call, automatically in the call identification appears as spam. This number has been reported as spam. And the same when you receive an SMS. No, so the idea is try to enable as much as possible to be able to detect this, and all of that is going to protect you against phishing attacks. Okay, But more importantly, as I see that you are using or doing right now, is keep up to date with what the attackers are doing. And perhaps one thing that I forgot to include in here are places where you can find the news. Although on the first day I shared with you BBC News, but there are lots and lots and lots of websites that you can check, even receive alerts of the latest cybersecurity fraud, no, or attack that people is using. When COVID-19 happened, there was a lot of COVID-19 related attacks. So what is the latest trend? And you can get that information. So I will remember to use this one in here. Yeah, to include it in here. Okay. So all of this was taken from the business guide that the government has produced for you. So my suggestion is, if you want more links, if you want more information, I have included the reference so you can check it. And this is a very quick guide that you can revise and you can go through as well. And it has some very good advice, now, especially because it's very related to what's happening in the UK and what's happening in here. Now, the 7th step, and I think that's the final one in terms of your to-do list. Establish a business continuity plan. Okay, so you have done your risk assessment, you have identified your biggest risks, your biggest assets. So try to come up with what are you going to do, and you have already done so. What are you going to do when something happens to my website? No, so I couldn't stop it. I knew that it was a risk, but unfortunately my website was attacked by a denial of service attack, and now my clients don't have access to it. Okay, so what is your plan to continue the business? Okay, so make sure that you have that for your elements. Okay, yes, smishing is a very interesting word. Sounds like smicing or something like that. Excellent. Right. Now, linked with the business continuity plan, we have also the disaster recovery plan. So, okay, your website was attacked, you managed to put your plan B, and your business was working, but then that plan B also didn't work. No. Okay, so it means that you're in disaster mode. No, so what exactly are you going to do to recover? So a big example in here is you were a victim of ransomware, you couldn't do anything about it, and unfortunately you didn't have a business continuity plan in place. So how are you going to recover from that disaster? No, well, I need to call somebody to help me remove the ransomware. I'm not going to pay the ransom, never pay the ransom. I need to recover my backup data, and then I need to notify my clients. Okay, so those kind of things. Unfortunately, the reality of disaster recovery plan is always this, because it represents money, and in big companies it also specifies that. So with those minimum steps, with that information at hand, I think you would be more than ready to say that you have started your cybersecurity elements, no, or that you are protected. Yeah, that would be the minimum requirements. No, and I think one of the questions that you had before is, how do we know that we are doing it right? And how can we reassure our clients? One way of doing it, do we have somebody with a question, or? No, we're fine. So one of the questions that you had was precisely, how can I make sure that our clients are safe and that they feel that whatever they put in my website is going to be kept safe? One way of going about this is precisely to look for something like a certification, no? And that would be precisely Cyber Essentials. Before I move to Cyber Essentials, I want to hear if you have any questions of the steps or to-do list that I mentioned before, and perhaps a good thing to do would be just to put back, sorry if I go back to like that, to put back these ones. Is there any question about any of this? No? Anyway, if you want to have more information, or if you need more clarification after checking the recording and so on, and you still have questions, then by all means send me an email and I would be happy to support you.
Okay, excuse me.
Yes.
I have a question about antivirus. You in the seminar you just mentioned about the antivirus software. What do you think? What do you think the free version of AVG?
I mean, I use the free version of AVG, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know that some of you, I think it was Geoff who mentioned that he had issues with it. I'm not quite sure if it was you, Geoff, because it was slowing your computer. But in my case, it has worked, and I use a free version. The only issue is that sometimes you see the marketing, no, of your computer might be at risk because you haven't done this test, and buy our service and we will give you and you will get this protection. No, but I use it in my son's computer, I use it in my computer, and so far it has been okay. And my son's computer is a Windows machine. Sorry, Geoff, then I forgot who mentioned that they were also struggling with AVG. You use Norton. So for me, it works. It would be a way of checking for you. No? Now remember, your operating system, Windows, also comes with an antivirus, and it also comes with Cyber Defender. So that would be another thing to check. Yeah.
Another thing is, yeah. Okay. Erica,
yes.
Another thing is that about the Doji apps.
Yes.
Can you please give me an example of Doji apps?
I don't have the list with me at hand, but I do know that Android has been sending or has been creating a list of applications that you shouldn't install. So for example, one application that gets access to your camera, and that means that somebody can control the application remotely and take photos of you. Yeah, or access the camera and record information. So those kind of dodgy applications. So applications that they don't have the seal of approval from Android or the Play Store or from iOS, then you shouldn't use it. No?
Erica.
Yes.
If if it's not if it's not recognized by Apple Store or Google Play Store, how basically now when we use smartphones, we either use iPhone or Samsung phone, either use Google either use Apple or Google Play Store. If the apps are not recognized by Apple or Google, how could we install it?
But I mean, the good thing is that Apple Store only puts applications in the store that they know that they back up. No, so Apple Store shouldn't be an issue. If you find the application in Apple Store, you can be reassured that that one is fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is with Android. Android allows both applications to be in Google Play. In Play Store. So if you are downloading an application from Play Store, check that it has the seal of approval. If not, then try to find out more about the company that developed the application. Try
how
to
check it.
Check for reviews. Sorry.
How could we check if the app has been recognized by Google Play Store?
Because they follow a process. So when you go to your Play Store and you want to download an application, it should say there approved by Play Store.
Oh, yeah, I didn't say that. That's a good point. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Right.
Yeah.
So going back to certifications, as I think Irene was asking. So, I mean, a common one would be Cyber Essentials. Unfortunately, not many companies go through Cyber Essentials, but if they have, they put this seal, the stamp of approval from the government that says that they have done the minimum to guarantee security. Yeah. In terms of big companies or in terms of banks and so on, they usually go for ISO 27001. Okay. But there are many different ones. So my suggestion is check the ones that the company is referring. If they don't specify it within the website, then ask them directly and ask them, have you been cyber certified, or what sort of a standard are you following to guarantee the security of your website or your applications? And usually, as I said, it would be ISO 27001. Or if it is an online business, it could be Cyber Essentials. Okay. Paul is recommending a Faraday box, yeah, as a physical protection in a building to stop outsiders accessing remote control keys and unlocking your building, cars, and more. Yeah, that's definitely an issue with cars. Many cars, especially BMW and so on, it is easier to replicate the beep or not the beep, but the transmission to open cars. So they sell them online, the Faraday boxes. Amazon, you can find them where you store keep your keys safe at night. No? So yeah, that's a good point. Yes, thank you very much. Geoff, I was coming to that as well in terms of Cyber Essentials. If it is something that you would like to look for, the basic ones is a self-assessment, and I can show you the questionnaire. And I know that some of you had questions about the questionnaire, but unfortunately I'm not going to have time to go through it. But if you want to, I can solve your questions in there. But it asks you via email, sorry. But it asks you things such as, have you put a firewall? Have you implemented certain controls? Do you have a website, etc., etc.? So it's kind of like a checklist for yourself to make sure that you have done the minimum in order to achieve it. And then what you do is that you go to this company or one of these companies like IASME, the consortium, and then they will check the questionnaire for you. And if they are happy with your answers, they will give you this seal of approval and say you are Cyber Essentials certified. Sorry. And as Geoff says, once you have been certified, you get free cyber insurance, which protects you in case something happens. Now, maybe if your controls didn't work, well, because you were certified, then it means that it wasn't your fault. Maybe the recommendation didn't work, so you can be protected. No. The other option is the Cyber Essential Plus, but that one includes hands-on verification, technical verification of your controls, of your security controls. The price, it depends on the number of employees that you have, equipment, etc., etc. But I think this is for bigger companies, and in your case, it would make more sense to go for the Cyber Essentials. Even if you're not planning on paying the £300, my suggestion would be to go through the questionnaire and see the type of answers that you're providing, and see if you have an answer to that. No, if not, then it means that maybe you need to research a bit more or ask for further advice on what to do about that. No. Now, what should you get Cyber Essentials? Because as I said, it reassures your customers. Now you have this seal of approval, so that should be. It means that you have considered security. Some contracts, for example, with government, and especially going back to Brexit, if you're going to do business with Europe, it would be very important to say, hey, look, by the way, I have been certified by Cyber Essentials, so I have the minimum requirements for cybersecurity. You know? And it means that you have a clear picture of cybersecurity in your case. Now, I know that I only have a few minutes to go through this. I think I'm not going to go through the whole list, but in detail, I'm just going to mention them. But if you go through the presentation that we're going to share with you later, it gives a good idea on what the security controls that they're expecting you to have. And also, if you go towards the end, no, sorry, not towards the end, in here, you have the link to go to for more advice, no one more detail. But I will give you anyway the booklet, the leaflet, and so on that has all that information. And best to do not always provide the presentations, contacts, posts, and so on. I know that somebody from Best is connected now, so I'm sure that they will do that. If you do not receive them, you have my email address, no? And feel free to contact me, get in touch. If you have questions, just reach out and I will send them to you directly, okay? So those cyber controls that they want to make sure that you have is to secure your internet connection with a firewall, personal firewall and boundary firewall. So the one that you have on your router and the one that you have on your computer, they come your operating systems with personal firewalls. So make sure that you have them on. Secure your devices and software. It's mainly the same advice that we have seen so far. Keep them up to date. Have a password, a secure password, etc., etc. No? Control access to your data and services. Having accounts. Don't provide everything with an admin account. Specify roles and so on. Protect against viruses and other malware. We have actually touched that as well before. Patching, keeping your systems up to date, and finally keep your devices and software up to date. I mean, I think that this summarizes what we have been talking about in the last 3 days. No, so if you follow this advice, then you can say I am cyber protected. No, and that should be enough. Also, I'm not going to have time to go through GDPR, but what I have done, I will send you the questions for the quiz, so you can check if you can, and that precisely answers your question, Rowena. So you can do it on your own, and that way you can test your knowledge on GDPR. But I would suggest also for you to watch the first video. So that way, because it comes with 5 steps that you need to follow to make sure that you are complying with GDPR. No, and it explains, of course, the changes on the Data Protection Act. Why is it important? GDPR is very important when for your Brexit and the business with Europe, because, as I said in here, although it was a European Union law, the UK has decided that they're gonna keep GDPR. No, thank you very much, Davina, for sharing it. But yes, so they will keep that one. So you and anyway, if you're doing business with Europe, you still need to comply with the GDPR. So it is important that you're familiar with it. Okay, so I'm gonna leave those links with you, and I'm gonna leave this 5 minutes. I mean, I know that we have less than 5 minutes, but I'm gonna open the mic to you. I have time, so please, do you have any questions?
Firstly, I think we should thank you for making the 3-day sessions informative and interactive. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Hans. I really appreciate the comment, and I really, really hope that you found this information useful. And again, I invite you to get in touch with me if you have more questions, and to get access to more information, to get access to these free courses that I'm offering you through the BEST and Cisco Networking Academy. And also, if you want somebody to do your penetration testing for free, but we need to talk a bit more about that one. Devika, you have a question, please, if you want to ask your question.
Hello.
Hi.
I had a question about data centers. I've just been trying to learn a bit more about where things are being stored. And you mentioned the other day that stuff that's stored in data centers can sometimes not be readable even by the owner of the data center. How do I find out if my data center can read my data? I think that's my question.
They should have a service level agreement. So there is the policies, you know, these pages and pages and pages of policies that they create. In there, they should have that information. Now, if you don't want to go through the whole document, the best thing to do is to send them an email, no, and ask them directly. And they have to reply to you with that information. But for example, Amazon offers web services and so on. They separate accounts and they have to specify that in their level of agreement.
And is there any specific language that I'm looking for when I'm looking for that information? Would they call it anything IT?
You can ask them how do you guarantee the confidentiality and privacy of the data that I store in your servers?
Perfect. Lovely.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Fine. Thank you very much. And anybody else? And good to see you, Devika, finally putting a face to the chat. Let's see. We'll send something about Dropbox. Let me check. Oops, for some reason it's giving me an error, the page. So if at some point we could have the correct one, that would be interesting. It's because it's, what happened? Sorry guys, yeah, it was caught, it had the dots, no, somewhere. So let's see. There you go, how Dropbox keeps your file secure. And every single company, they should have something like this, no? Especially if they are storing your data. The level of encryption, 256. I mean, I can give you a lecture on what that means, but that means that it's really, really secure. No, it could take ages to decrypt that. It provides TLS connection, etc., etc. So thank you very much for sharing that. And that's precisely what you need to do for every single service that you're using. Verify what they are doing in order to keep security. Thank you, Will. Hans, nice to see you as well. I mean, I have seen you before, but really nice to put a face to the voice. Thank you. Honestly, it has been my pleasure. It's always nice when things run